I go to God for happiness. I go to God for joy. That's who I go to. That's where I get it from. If I have a morale issue, I go to Him, and then everything flows out of that. You can always look. You can always find something to complain about. Always.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the First Things First, a show where we talk about setting your priorities in the right order to help you fall in love with the job again. My name is Helton Pereira, and today I am joined by my friend Josh Chase. Josh, welcome, brother.
Yeah, man, it's good to be on the show. You've been talking about doing this for a while now, so it's exciting to actually get on here and get it done, man, and talk about the first things that are first when it comes to fire department, life, family, and all that. So I'm excited.
Cool. Well, the intro today is going to be short. This is Captain Josh Chase, and he's a firefighter who likes going to fires.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. That kind of sums up what I like to do. My career. My mantra is really simple. It's three words: do your job. And I feel like if everybody just does their job, everything works out a whole lot better. I think we complicate things a lot. If you take water to the seat of the fire, everything gets better. And the faster you do that, then everything gets better. And, we'll talk about some stuff in life that kind of, mirrors that too. The faster you deal with a problem, the better your life will get. So got to tackle things at the root though. So we're going to get into a lot of that today.
Awesome. Well, before we get into all that stuff, let's just start with your career. Where did it start? The fire department, and even for you too, it started even before the fire department. So share with that a little bit of how you got here to the fire department today.
So man, I've been in 20 years this year. So it's been crazy. It's gone by fast. When I came in, the old senior guys said it would go by fast, and I guess I didn't believe them. But 20 years later, here I am. Joined the fire department in 2005. I had already joined the Army National Guard in 2003, and I had about 6 years that I had to do there. So ended up getting deployed right in the middle of the fire academy in 2005. Came back in 2007. Finished up the fire academy, hit the street in a busy urban area at Fire Station 2 down here in Norfolk, Virginia. And I've been with the same department ever since. I've been, super busy, kind of busy, a little slow. I mean, I don't want to say I've seen it all and done it all because there's still plenty of stuff to see and do and learn. But I have seen a lot and done a lot. And yeah, 20 years has been a long time. But man, I did a lot of growing up in the fire department. Like I said, I joined the fire department. I was 21, turning 22. I turned 43 this year. And man, I really have grown up on the job, learned the job. I was a first generation fireman. I ate it all up after my deployment. And it's cool, man. I worked my way through the ranks. I came in as a firefighter. At about 15 years, I got promoted to lieutenant. And about a year ago, I got promoted to captain. And it's really given me an opportunity to lead at that formal level. But, as we'll get into today, you got to lead at that informal level. That's what makes you a successful leader at the formal level. And I'm spoiled. I'm a fire captain now at station number 6 in Norfolk, Virginia. I got a great operator, a good crew. I got a bunch of senior guys, a couple of junior guys. And honestly, we're really probably more like a family than a team. We kind of just come to work and take care of each other, make sure we get the job done. But, in a nutshell, man, that's my fire department story. As far as life goes, I'm married, 3 kids. Daughter just got married, my oldest, and my son is about to turn 19. My youngest is about to turn 17. I'd say I feel old, but I don't. I'm only 42. I started really early, so still pretty young. I got a great family, God-centered marriage, God-centered family. Not that you're asking, but my favorite hobby is jujitsu. And, if you haven't done it, you need to do it. If you haven't tried it and you're listening, you will not regret it. Tap early, tap often. That's the advice I would give you if you want to have a lengthy career in jujitsu. But in a nutshell, if I had to give you the cliff notes, that's me.
That's awesome, and that's a good. I've connected with you for a while, and we've been talking for a couple of years now, and you've had an awesome career up to this point, and but it wasn't always like that, right? There were definitely some ups and downs. There were some tough spots that you had, and if you're okay with that, I'd love for you to share with everybody some of those tough spots, and were they catalysts for you to make a change in your life?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I believe the only reason I've been through some hard things and come out on the other side is to share. So, yeah, definitely been through some hard spots in life, and the fire department's been a part of that just because it's been part of my life. And, mainly when I got back from my deployment in 2007, that was a little while ago. They weren't really talking about post traumatic stress and you could possibly have a disorder and reconnecting with your family. So I just kind of came back, jumped back into the fire department full speed. Like I said, downtown, urban area, plenty of fires, plenty of gunshots, plenty of stabbings. It was great for the career and learning the job, and it was very similar to the war type tempo that I was used to dealing with while I was deployed. But what it wasn't great for me was great for family. If anything, it was terrible for me for family because I didn't know how to balance those things right back then, and I really didn't know what my priorities were. So I really prioritized the fire department, unfortunately, over my marriage and family back then. And it really put me in a rough spot. I mean, I didn't know how to connect with my wife and my kids after coming back from my deployment. The military had just started really offering some help or just really kind of diving into some of that stuff, or it was maybe you should go get some help or a counselor. And I mean, if I have to be completely honest, I was probably way too prideful to go and seek help. It was more like, whatever, this is just a soldier's life. This is just what you deal with after deployment. And the fire department didn't help me with that. Not that it was the fire department's fault. I was making my own decisions, but there's a culture in the fire department where you can just love the job and abandon your family if you want. I mean, most people listening know that culture is out there if that is what you want. But the culture of people who stay married for 25 years and do it healthy and do it well in the fire department also exists. But I was a hurting, prideful young man after deployment, and I found a lot of hurting, prideful people to hang out with, because hurt people, and they usually, misery does find company. And yeah, man, it was really hard. So 2007, I got back from my deployment. 5 years later, I found myself separated from my wife, and that was about 6 months long. And I was like, man, what am I doing? Love the job, great at the job, never had a bad day at the job other than, you make normal mistakes. I'm not some super fireman, but I was really great at being a fireman, and I was terrible at being a husband, a father, a friend. It's just funny. Your book is first things first, and this podcast is first things first. And I honestly, back then, I had no idea what to put first. So I was trying to put everything first, and then I just chose easy. And easy's never rewarding, man. So the first thing that I put first was the fire department. And for me, man, it didn't work out. It wasn't a good thing. If you're listening and you're like, fire department's priority in my life, it's priority number one, and you're married with kids, I would challenge your priorities. Not saying the fire department isn't a priority. I'm not saying, it's not a sacrifice. I understand sacrifice. I've been in the fire department 20 years. I was deployed to war. I was in the Army for 6 years. I was a Black Hawk helicopter crew chief. I was a sergeant when I left. I understand sacrifice, but I understand measured sacrifice too. And I'm not sacrificing my family on the altar of the fire department or the military or anything else, and I almost did that. And didn't turn out well. So when you talk about challenges that I've overcome, yeah, man, I mean, and honestly, I can't ever talk about challenges that I've overcome without talking about the one who helped me overcome them, and that's Jesus Christ, the one God. And I mean, that's it. That's how I overcame all those things. It was honestly at one point I had to really surrender my pride, which I try and do daily, and just give my life back over to him and let him lead me, lead my marriage, lead my family. And honestly, it wasn't until then that things started to get better. I tried a million things on my own. And if you're listening and you've tried a million things, I can tell you about the one thing. But there's only one thing that actually works. A lot of things feel like they work and then until they don't again. And then you end up in this circle, being trapped in this life of, no hope. But only one thing that offers true hope. And man, that was the first thing that I put first, which actually Hilton does talk about in his book. You know, his faith is a big part of his life, and we've had some discussions. It's a big part of my life, and it's one of those things man, you just can't. You can push it to the side, but I'd like to talk to you in 5 years and see what it looks like for you, because I guarantee you'll be in the same spot, and you don't have to wait 5 years to do that. But man, challenges. We don't even have time today. I mean, it's the cliff notes of 20 years of my life, and really, it's just a story of hope and what God's done in it. I can't even sit here and take credit for what He's done and the things that I've been through. Some people on the outside might be like, "Man, you look really hard. You work really hard. You do these things," and I do. I work hard. There's a lot of doors that just got opened, and God's also closed. I don't David Goggins in my life and expect everything to turn out right, because that's not real. I mean, I can't just positive talk myself and tell myself everything's just going to work, and then it just doesn't work that way. But do I work hard? Yes. But is there a God to open the doors and fight for me when I'm having bad days? And yeah, man. Yeah, dude. Like I said, it's cliff notes. I've been through some stuff. Um, yeah, I'm sure we'll get into more of it though. So
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, I mean, go look up some of the podcasts that Josh has been on. He speaks about it extensively, his family life, what happened. He also talks a little bit about in some of his books. So you talk about the priorities and putting God first, which obviously it's also something that I focus on. It's faith, family, fitness, and firefighting. So I would like to dig into a little bit how that helped you in your family life, that you had to put God first to restore your family, and then get you to a place where you are today. But as a man, as a leader in the fire service, I want to talk a little bit about the book that you wrote. I want to say probably about a year or two ago. It's called "Engage the Enemy." Talk to us about this book. What is this book about? Give us the Cliff Note version of that.
I started to notice, like, man, I don't have time to tell everybody my story in about 10 minutes, right? And even an hour. I'm like, man, I've been through so much, and seen some things, done some things, done a lot wrong, honestly. If you want to know what the book is about, it's about me doing a lot of things wrong, and then finally coming to the realization that I was wrong and I didn't know how to do things right. And I had to establish a real relationship with God to learn how to do things right. And that's really, the book is really about me doing a lot wrong. But the reason I was doing a lot of these things wrong is because I really didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't have a purpose. And if you don't have a purpose, or you're not living a purposeful life, then you will just walk around in circles. Something I talk about in the book, and I just talk about on the regular, is, you have to have a vision, and you have to have some sort of goal. So you have something directing you in your life. And if you don't, there's no vision, there's no goal, you actually can't really have any progress, because you're not working towards anything. And what feels like progress is actually you just walking in one big circle your entire life. So, because people confuse progress and movement, and they're not the same thing. You've been moving a circle your entire life, you haven't gone anywhere. That's not progress, but you've been moving, and people call that progress, and that's not true. If you have a vision, that's that straight line is towards a goal. You're walking towards a goal, you're looking towards a goal, and you're always moving forward towards that goal. You might take a step back, but you stay on that line towards that goal. And that straight line, that's vision, that's goal, that's making progress. The circle movement life, that's not progress. People just confuse movement for progress for some reason. And really, that's what that book is about. Man, I had no purpose, no direction, no vision, no mission, no ownership. I was blaming everybody else. It was really hard to stay engaged because I didn't have a vision. And it was really easy for me to just choose quitting and moving on to something else. I don't know how many times in my life. I mean, who gets married with the intention of wanting to quit their marriage? I would say that most people don't spend all that money on a wedding thinking, I'm out of here in 2 years. I mean, I may be wrong. I mean, you may be the one guy listening that's like, yeah, I got married to get divorced, which that'd be super weird to me. But the book really is about what I use, what God opened the doors for me to use, the tools, principles that He used to open my eyes to be able to fight for my purpose. And really, if you just boil it down, in the Bible, the Christian Bible, it talks about the army of God, and the armor of God. And really, I just broke it down like in practical terms, because who knows what the helmet of salvation is, right? Like if you're listening to this and I just said helmet of salvation, you're like, what is this dude even talking about right now, right? Well, good luck. I mean, good for you. I grew up in church and I didn't even know what that meant, So I broke down these pieces of the armor, if you will, into practical ways that you can actually apply these things in your life. I mean, like helmet of salvation. I'll just break down salvation real quick. Salvation is just the act of being salvaged. If you think of a salvage yard, it's something that people scrap, threw away, wanted nothing to do with, and somebody comes in and salvages that piece and restores it to something that's new. And that's what salvation was for me. I was so broken and so beaten and so battered, and God reached down and picked me up and just restored me. And not just on the outside, He restored my heart, and who I was as a man, my inner man, and that got started to show on the outside. And so when you start to talk about salvation like that and the helmet of salvation, and starting from a place of there's a God that loves you, Jesus loves you, and oh, okay, well, now I understand the helmet of salvation in the sense of I understand salvation a little bit. I don't know everything about it, but so really the book just kind of breaks down. It's a real and raw story of where I've been in my life, man. There's some colorful language in there because I could not find any other words to describe where I was in my life. It is 100% written to a firefighter, military veteran kind of audience, mainly men, because I believe that men really do have the power to either completely destroy the world or completely let God use them to renew the world. And we got a choice, man. And so the book it really goes over 6 principles that I use every day in my life: salvation, faith, righteousness, peace, the word of God. I mean, all that stuff, and truth. And I break down those principles in the book, but I break them down practically, man. It's like, dude, I'm telling you, this book is, if you never heard about truth and you want to hear about it, like I write about it from a real and raw perspective. And each principle I write about, I really write about how I screwed it up, how I genuinely just screwed it up and did a terrible job. And, but I got in alignment with these truths, and I use this stuff every day. It's not just like a book that I wrote, to be famous. I'm 100% not famous. I think I sold 90 copies of the book last year, maybe. I don't know. I probably gave away more books than I sold last year, but the whole reason I wrote it was because I'm running into guys and they're like, man, especially guys that knew me, like, what'd you do? Like, you're a completely different person. And I was like, oh, I don't even have time to tell you my story. So you can pick up the book, and it's available on Amazon. I got a website. We'll talk about how to get a hold of me. I'm not really doing too much on social media right now, but book's available on Amazon. It could be at your house in 2 days. If you love it, great. If you don't, pass it on to somebody else. If not, ask Amazon for a refund. They do that too. So, but yeah, man, it is great. I mean, it allowed me, it was a healing journey for me to write the book, because it allowed me to just get my story out there. And I've seen some positive feedback, and guys have reached out and just been like, man, this book changed me. It's right where I was at in the fire department. I had no idea. Like I said, I know you guys listening, the fire department, if you're not authentic, man, people sniff you out. So I just wrote a real authentic book about my mistakes. I mean, the first paragraph, first sentence, first chapter, I talk about getting caught cheating on my wife, back in 2012. That's how I start the book, and that's not a proud moment for me. It's not a proud moment, but God redeemed that moment and restored our marriage through all that stuff, right? So I'm pretty honest in the book. Like I said, I put a lot of stuff in there. I'm not proud. It wasn't proud to write these things down, but I really believe that guys had to know where I came from. They have to know that we're as grim, as dark as it can be. God will reach down in that salvage yard of their soul and pull them out of there. So it's pretty much what the book's about in a nutshell.
Yeah. And I like how you talked about purpose. I think that a lot of us do this job because we want a sense of purpose. We want a sense of belonging. We want something to do, whether it's just to help others or make a difference, be part of something bigger. I've shared with you the times where I felt like the fire department wasn't it for me anymore. I felt disillusioned. I felt discouraged. And that's when I had to realign my priorities to be able to, be in love with the job again. And so I would like for you to talk a little bit about finding purpose in that, in back in the fire department, and then we can tackle some of the your leadership stuff. How you already talked about how you were in a firehouse where you had good people around you who influenced you, and we've also talked about how in the fire department it is important to have people around you who are going to be positive impacts in you, and usually the people that get a hold of you first are the ones that are going to make a big impact on you. So would you mind sharing a little bit about purpose, and people being an influence in you early in your career to get you to where you are today?
So I think for me, I started to realize, early on through rededicating my life to God and prayer and talking to people, my purpose really is to strengthen, encourage, and empower, right, other people, specifically men. I mean, men have it rough, and I don't think people understand that. Like everybody walks around, we think everybody's tough, and men do have a hard time, and so my purpose now is to strengthen, encourage, and empower other men. If you look at the definition of strength, it's to help people. I'm trying to think of like the best way to describe it. It's the capacity to like withstand a great force or enemy, right? That's the definition of strength. And then encourage is really just to instill courage, and power is probably one of my favorite things to do, because I'll talk to guys and they're like, "Man, tell me how you did it, show me." And I'm like, "No, I want to show you how to do it so you can do it for yourself. I don't want to be your coach for your whole life." Like empowerment is really showing other people how to embrace who they are, and rise up in their purpose and live out their purpose. Like that's empowerment. Like I don't get any joy out of coaching somebody for 5 years. I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like it's time to launch, right? Like I get joy out of like empowering people to go out and do their own thing, like write their own books, do their own podcasts, do their own thing, start their own gym. Like, man, how can I help you do those things? How can I help you find your purpose in life? Because I know once you find your purpose in life, like you'll have that goal and you'll start making progress, and you won't just go around in circles. But yeah, it's super important with the mentors, the people that you have in your life, the people, like you said. I had a really good captain early on. We were I was with a really young crew, a bunch of knuckleheads, bullheaded. Really good at the job, though. I mean, I'm not saying that like, hey man, we were the best firemen in the world. Like we cared more about the job than anything else. And we sacrificed a lot to be that great. So I actually don't recommend that. But good captain, kept the crew together. He had a really good balance, but we were just young, and but I still model a lot of what I do after that first captain I had when I first came in the fire department, and his leadership style. He truly cared about us, cared about the job, and wanted us to go home, and we knew it. We knew it, felt it. He communicated it through action, not just words. And I had a lot of good people around me. Even when I was doing a lot of dumb things, I still had people around me that were able to speak into my life. And maybe we weren't getting along, or maybe I didn't listen at the time, but when I was ready to make a decision to, I'll just say, do the right thing, like it made a difference to me that these people were speaking into my life continually, even though maybe I wasn't listening or didn't hear them. So if you're listening and you're frustrated because you got somebody that's on the fringe and you keep talking to them, just keep talking to them. You may be the only voice of hope that's in their life, and I had those people. But it is really important. It's super important that you have people around you, mentors. I mean, I think one of the biggest things that we do as firefighters, as men, is like we throw out those three words: "I got it." Like, I got it, I got it, I got it. And I'm like, yeah, you probably don't. Like, you probably don't have it, because you can't have everything. And then we get overwhelmed, we get overwhelmed, and then we start to get in that pity party of like, well, I got it, I got it, I got it. And now we're overwhelmed because we've been telling ourselves we got it. We're not asking for help. And then we go to the coping mechanisms, and they're usually not healthy, or else we wouldn't have a problem with suicide, alcoholism, drug abuse, mental health issues. Um, they're just not all healthy coping mechanisms. I mean, even look, I mean, I do jujitsu, been doing that for almost 10 years, but there have been seasons where I've been in the jujitsu gym way more than I should have been, so any coping mechanism can get unhealthy, and then it's a matter of figuring out how you got there. But I think keeping those mentors in your life and those people that are always willing to speak into your life is a really big thing. And if you're listening and you're like, purpose, yeah, I don't know what that is, or you look, you maybe you just think your purpose is the fire department, and that's fine. And I'll be honest with you, like, my purpose is not the fire department. My purpose is to strengthen, encourage, and empower humanity. But I get to do that in the fire department. And I think really you gotta take your purpose bigger than the fire department, because what happens when the fire department's gone? You can't stay there forever. What if you get injured? People get injured. What if something happens? What if tomorrow it's just done? What if your wife has to move to across the country because she has to take a job and you're gonna go, and now then no more fire department. You just can't attach your identity and purpose to an organization or a label or a title. I think it's way more important to attach your identity to me. I've attached my identity to I'm a son of the Most High God. That's my true identity, and then I work everything else outside of that, so I get to serve people outside of that, and wherever I get to serve them, it's awesome. I mean, I'm at 20 years. I actually could retire this year. I could take a retirement. It would be considered an early retirement, but I could leave, but I would be okay because I know what my purpose is. I'm not going anywhere. I probably got about 5 or 6 more years left. But yeah, man, I mean, purpose is huge, and the people around you to help you get there. And man, you got to have, I used to teach this class and I used to talk about like who's eating at your table, and you got to have people eating at your table that actually truly love and care about you and care about where you're going in life. And if you don't care about me and where I'm going in life, and reciprocate, like, I don't, you're probably not eating at my table. Like, the people you do life with, community with, that you hang out with, you just think about it. You love and care about these people, or you wouldn't do life with them. So just make sure you have good people around you that are supporting you, and people that won't say yes all the time. Like, if you're messing up, man, you need somebody that's like, dude, you're an idiot. And I have those people in my life that will point their finger in my chest and be like, dude, what are you doing? And sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have to come back and make an apology because I did exactly what they told me not to do, and they were right. um yeah, super important, man, very important.
Yeah, I love that, Josh. I love the purpose portion of it. As you said, it just doesn't, having that purpose makes me not just be a good fireman. It makes me be the fireman that God has called me to be, which
Yep.
obviously it makes me be the husband that I'm supposed to be and the father that I'm supposed to be, and also be a friend and mentor to others. You said that the accountability portion for is huge. Is to be able to have somebody who holds you accountable and also hold somebody else accountable to what they're doing. And the power of those influences is huge. And you have been a mentor to me. You have, as you said, you have empowered me to do things. From the book to the podcast to to other areas in my personal life and in my career. So you have been obviously a huge mentor to other people as well, and you share that with us on another one of your awesome books, Jump Seat Leadership. And you talk about how you don't have to have a position of official leadership. You can do that from any step in the fire department. So talk to us a little bit about that, how you can lead people and how you can mentor people no matter where you are in your career.
Yeah, I think I don't think I know at this point. Titles and leadership, they just don't go hand in hand. It's just not a thing. I think we've associated it with that, but it's not a thing. I mean, I waited till I was 15 years in the fire department to actually take the promotional process seriously. But that doesn't mean I wasn't a leader before that. I was doing things and I was leading other people way before I put on the rank of lieutenant and then now captain. Like I said, I was in the fire department 15 years. Was I a leader day one? No, it was time for me to follow when I first came in. I came under some informal leadership. And if you don't know what informal leadership, it's basically leadership without a title. And I just learned. I just learned a lot about the job, saw a lot of senior guys like leading by example, doing things right, doing things well. They had time on the job, but they also had experience on the job. And yeah, so leadership and rank and title, like, it's not real. And I think it's a common misconception. And I think the fire department is pretty awake to it now, that just because you're sitting in a leadership position doesn't mean you are a leader. I mean, most people listening to this will probably agree with that. The people that don't agree are usually the people that are not leaders and are doing a terrible job and they're in leadership positions. Those are usually the people that get mad when I say something like that. And it's like any old thing, man. If you're offended, I think you need to discover and look and see why you're offended. It's not always the person talking. Sometimes it's a filter that we need to figure out for ourselves. I know when I get offended sometimes because that happens, I have to ask myself why. It's not always the other person. But I think, as far as titles go, no, you just look, the best way to lead is by example. Nobody's going to follow you if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You have to learn to lead yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing. I don't care where you're at in the fire department, how many years you have, experience, whatever. Learn to lead yourself, learn to lead yourself well, and don't try and get other people to follow you. No, nobody. These are the days of self promotion, TikTok, social media, Snapchat. I probably missed one because I don't really like any of them. But these are the days of self promotion. Hey, look, how many followers can I get? Right? Like, don't do that in the fire department. Just do what you're supposed to do. Show up every day, do your job the way you're supposed to do it well, and you will naturally have people come in line with you because they're like, wow, this guy has 10 years on the job. He's doing his job. He does it every single day. He doesn't mind picking up a mop or a broom or cooking or doing all the menial tasks. Like, we show up on the job and there's, fire blowing out of two windows. Man, he's the first guy in every single time. I want to be like that guy. That's leadership. Now, if you notice, one thing I didn't say was that guy's a lieutenant or a captain, because that's not real. Like, listen, I mean, we all know people in our field, in our departments that are, and I'm not hitting on officers. We have some great officers out there. Um, we have great officers, great firefighters. Just to give you some context, I mean, it is what it is. Like, we got people in leadership positions that shouldn't be there. We got people in the fire department that shouldn't be there, though. So I mean, that's like a whole other podcast. But I think the biggest thing with jump seat leadership, what I was trying to encourage and tell people in that book, I think it's like 85, 95 pages, is stop waiting till you get a promotion to do this leadership thing. I hear so many firemen, me included, that's why I wrote the book. A common thing I used to say was like, man, when I get promoted, when I get promoted, when I get promoted. And I was like, why am I waiting till I get promoted? I can do 90% of what I complain about now before I get promoted. There's no magic that happens when you get that lieutenant's badge or sergeant's badge or captain or whatever your department has, or operator. Everybody's different, but there's no magic that happens. Like, okay, you got the badge, bam, you are now a leader. You have all the knowledge. You know exactly what you're doing. If you don't learn leadership at an informal level before you get that promotion and learn to lead yourself, you are going to make a terrible officer, and you are going to make a terrible leader, and you will lead your crew in places you should never be in. Can you rise from the ashes? Yeah, 100% you can. I see people do it all the time. They get there and they're like, wow, this job is actually harder than I thought. I'm leading a crew. I actually need to start learning how to lead these people. And they do great. Like, the people that realize, hey, this is a lot, they do really well. But there are people that get there and they had no intention of leading, or they get there and they're like, wow, this is harder than I thought. The crew sees who they are, and there's trouble building trust because they're not really following a leader, they're following an officer. And those are two different things. And that's really why I wrote that book. There's so many. I mean, by way of numbers, we have a ton of firefighters in the fire department and not as many officers, because that's just how our chain of command is structured. And I just started to think about, what if every firefighter in the fire department embraced their jump seat role and became a leader in their own right, and helped each other, led each other, like helped their officer. Like, there's a concept, right? I'm spoiled at my work. My crew takes care of a lot. They really help me out. I mean, when I say I'm spoiled, you would come to work with me and be like, does Captain Chase do anything? Like, you would be surprised how much I try and do that's either already done or my crew will physically take out of my hands in the moment. I mean, I literally sometimes have to tell them, stop, I need to do this. And that's how they are, but they take care of things. They lead at that level. They lead at that informal level. And I appreciate that. I mean, I had a guy, I don't have a lieutenant in my house. It's just me. We just have captains, some officers. I mean, some offices or stations have captains and lieutenants. I had one of my guys come to me and tell me, like, hey, I kind of want to be like your lieutenant here. I don't want you to have to deal with this stuff. And I was like, oh, I mean, I got it. I appreciate it. I only have 5 guys under me. And he was like, nah, I got it. He's like, I just want I want to step into that role. He's not getting paid for that. He's not getting paid for it. He doesn't get a stipend. He doesn't get any rank. He doesn't care. He's been in the department about 15 years, and he's like, I consider myself an informal leader in here, and I want to make sure like this crew knows it. And he's not looking for recognition. I mean, in the humblest way, he came to my office and said that, and I was like, man, this is so cool. Like, but that's what he wants. I didn't push that on him. I didn't tell him he had to do that. And some, like I said, I'm spoiled, man. I got somebody that drives me, around everywhere. Like I got a driver. I show up on scene, they take things out of my hands. If I'm pushing a stretcher, somebody usually knocks me out of the way. Like I got to fight to cook some days, but I take care of them. They take care of me. We take care of each other. I mean, dude, at this point, if they transfer any of us, they're breaking up a family. I might have to fight somebody.
Yeah.
Like you can't transfer anybody out of my station. Like we might have to go out back with some gloves.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm
and
spoiled, man.
and you touch on that you take care of them, you look out for them, and
Yeah,
you've shared a lot about servant leadership, and
yeah.
that's you're also leading by example, which you already touched on. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe is when you became a lieutenant, you went into a firehouse with guys that were all seniors to you in the fire
Yeah.
department. So can you share a little bit of that experience, and how are you able to try to come into that environment? Were you able to make change or affect change, or how were you able to transition into that new role as a new officer?
That's a great story. Yeah, so I had 15 years in the fire department. Just got promoted to lieutenant. Had no idea where they were going to send me. They sent me to a station where the captain had 35 years. I think the driver of the engine had 19 or 20 years. The guy in the ladder driver had 25 years. The guy in the back of the engine had 35 years. One of the paramedics, firefighters, had 27 years. I mean, I could just keep going. Like everybody was way more senior than I had been. And the only person that outranked me there, by badge, leader, whatever, your promotion was the captain. I worked for a captain. I was a lieutenant. They were under us. I hate saying stuff like that because I really feel like we function as a team. But yeah, I showed up and I was like, okay, you want me, this 15-year guy, to come in here as a brand new young lieutenant and lead all these dudes who've been doing this job. And these weren't dudes that were just, look, you got the guys that are just in the department. They don't do a whole lot. They're at those stations and they've been around. These were guys that had done some stuff. They'd been in the fire department a long time and they'd done some stuff and they'd seen some stuff and they'd been at the busy houses, they'd seen and done some things. And I was like, man, these are the guys that sniff you out in a heartbeat, man. They were like, all right, we got a brand new lieutenant, and they knew a little bit about me. And I didn't know what to do, to be completely honest. I was like, I just don't know what to do. I thought I was going to get a young crew who didn't know anything, and I was going to get to mold and shape them. And then I walk in as the youngest member of the crew, So I walk in. There was another guy had about the same time I did, but he had already kind of meshed with the crew, so he was just kind of laid back, like just seeing how things were going to go. And I really had to take a step back and let them do their thing. I didn't walk in there and, hey, I'm the lieutenant. I mean, it's on my shirt. Like, I didn't have to tell them. I mean, it's on my shirt. My helmet's a different color. There are a lot of signs that show I'm a lieutenant. If you're walking around an officer, like reminding people, you probably already have a problem, So they already knew I was a lieutenant. I didn't have to come in there and say it. I just kind of took a back seat and I really focused on fostering relationships and just being part of the crew, And then if I saw something that I was like, man, we got to improve on this, it wasn't a dig or, hey, you guys suck. It was like, hey, if we're over here talking about being the best, like I think we got some improvement, we need to work on, me included, and the captain was all about it. I had support from the captain after a little while too, but it wasn't until really honestly I built a real relationship with those guys and they got to know me as Josh, like, so what? I'm a lieutenant. Who cares? We have a lot of lieutenants and captains and battalion chiefs. I think once you get to let people know who you are, like as you, they start to trust you. I think that was the biggest thing is we started to develop and build trust. And, once there's a couple guys, like when you show up, you know who the informal leaders are. And really, honestly, you build relationships if you're smart with those people. And I did that. I kind of looked around and said, well, I'm not in charge. I get paid to be in charge, but I'm not in charge. And I looked around, I kind of saw who was in charge, and we became friends pretty quick. And I don't mean that like I became friends for that reason, because this was one of those guys, he'd been in 35 plus years. If he don't like it, he don't like it, and that's it. For some reason, we got along. I mean, we got along, and I think the rest of the guys saw it, and they were like, "Man, if you can be friends with that guy, you know." And he's been retired for, geez, 4 or 5 years now, and we still hang out. I mean, we had my daughter's wedding at his house on his farm, 3 4 weeks ago, and this is one of the toughest dudes. Dude came in the fire department when I was born, back in 81, 82. And but I really had to foster a relationship with all these guys. And yeah, I thought I was going to get some young crew going there, like hit it hard, man. I'm going to mold you guys into, Josh Chase 2.0. And it turned into sit back and listen in, son. You're going to learn some life lessons. And now, once I did that, then I could be like, come on, guys, that last hose pull was trash. And they'd be like, "Oh, come on, Lieutenant," like blah blah blah. I'd be like, "Okay, cool, show me," and then we get out there and we do some training, and then we got a rookie, so everybody's kind of back into it. But man, it was the relationship. We worked out every day together at 2 o'clock. I had a guy there who was like a level 35 CrossFit trainer, or whatever those people are, and but he trained us every day at 2 o'clock, and man, it really fostered a culture of like team and family. Like once you guys know the job and you have a good base foundation, really the focus of the officer should be like build team, build family, take care of your people. Like we really do need. I look, I've been doing this 20 years. It's not hard. I mean, the job's hard in the sense where like it's a hard job. Like when we do it, like it's not challenging. But I'm like, we take water to the seat of the fire and we put it out. We need to do it quickly. Now, however you do that, everybody does it different. People are still arguing. People are probably arguing on social media right now about what hose load. But I've made a real successful career out of get the water to the fire fast. Like faster it goes out, less problems you have. Sounds simple, and people will be like, "You don't know what you're talking about." Like, all right, well, it's just worked for me. Find something works for you. But once you figure that out, man, if you're not building relationships, fostering a team, fostering a culture of people that actually care about each other, man, you're doing it wrong. Because the minute I don't know what else there is. Like I spend my entire day with these people, 10 days a month, 24-hour shifts. And like, being at that station taught me how to build a team, taught me how to build a family. And now that's where I do wherever I go. I show up and I'm like, this is my team. This is my family. I got to take care of them. I mean, when I got promoted to captain, I think the first week I was there, I told the guys, I said, I don't need you to trust me right away, and I'm not expecting it. And they kind of looked at me funny, and I was like, we don't even know each other. So please don't distrust the rank that I'm wearing on my collar or the rank that's on my shirt. Like, you need to see how I operate and how I work and how we develop a relationship. We actually have to develop trust. I don't want you to think trust is assumed. So I was like, I understand if you don't trust me. And I earned it. Like I had to earn it. It wasn't like I walked in there like I'm your new captain. Like trust me. They have no reason to trust me. They don't even know me. They know what they've heard about me. But why should they just trust or why should they just trust me because I show up as their captain? You have to build a relationship with your crew. You have to build trust with your team. And then once you build this, then it's like you said, man, servant leadership, that is the only type of effective leadership. If you are in a leadership position to serve yourself, you need to get out of the leadership position because you have no idea what you're doing. None whatsoever. Servant leadership, it is the only type of leadership. There are other types of leadership that exist. They just don't care about people. And if you're in leadership for the right reasons, you should have taken that job for people. And if you took it for a paycheck and now you're struggling, it's probably because you didn't take it to actually work with people. But I mean, that it was challenging to say the least, but really quick, it taught me show up, build relationships, build trust. Younger guys, like I said, those are older guys. I've been blessed to have a lot of good informal leaders on my crew now, to where I can really focus on team, and they help me with all the skills and job skills and training everybody. Um, but yeah, if you're not fostering team and building family as a leader, I don't know what you're doing. And if you don't know how to do that, man, there are a million books out there like that can teach you how to do it. I mean, I could tell you about a book that just came out, First Things First, that'll 100% teach you how to do some of this stuff. Like if you don't know how to do anything, there's a lot of topics in this book that'll get you better. And the one thing I love about what Helton did in this book was it's got different topics and sections. So you can read about faith, you can read about fitness, you can read about firefighting. Like you can read the whole book, but then you can go back to it and just read a section if you want. Like half the time we don't know what we're doing and then we just wing it and we don't get knowledge, and I don't understand. I had a guy, I did a conference and he brought me all my books. He bought them all and he got some of the giveaways and I signed them all for him. And he said, man, that was the last book I needed to get. Your last book, I finally collected it. And I said, oh, that's cool, man. He said, yeah, I'm glad I have them all. I mean, I don't even like read though. And I was like, so you have all my books and you don't read? He said, yeah, I just collect them. I said, yeah, you should just give them away. And he was like, oh man, I just like collecting books. I was like, I don't understand. Like, how do you just have books and not read them? Like now there are books I have that I don't read. I'm not saying I read every book somebody gives me, but where do you get knowledge from? So I know where he gets it from. It's probably TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, because that's where 90% of people get their knowledge these days, is social media, which I don't understand, but you know.
This is funny. This is the perfect segue to one of the books that you I've actually read your books, and you made a huge impact in my life. But the biggest book that made an impact in my life, it's this one. It's called Jump Seat Leadership: The Solution to All Problems in the Fire Service.
I love that book.
And this book, when I first picked it up, I was quite upset about it because I didn't know that that's it right there.
Right. Yeah.
Just
Every page.
next
Yeah.
chapter. Do you like if this book, so explain a little bit about this book. This book is obviously it's meant as a gag gift, as a joke, but it says a lot. I mean, I've literally used this book on training with people, when I'm mentoring people,
Yeah.
when they're struggling, when they come and there's a lot of, when we're trying to solve all the world's problems at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Like, tell me about this book, because I mean it's simple, right? It's just do your
Yeah.
job.
So if you're listening and you're not watching, like, I'll just tell you what the book is. So I wrote a book. I've written probably about 5 or 6 actual books, and I started to run into, everybody has a problem. Everybody has an issue. Everybody wants to talk about it. Everybody has a discussion. Everybody has a solution. His solution doesn't work. Her solution doesn't work. That's dumb. Fire department sucks. Morale is low. Morale is high. Whatever it is. Like, people have all these conversations and all these topics they want to talk about. At the end of the day, for me, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, my job philosophy is really simple. Guys show up to my station and they're like, Captain, I just wanted to meet with you about your expectations for me. And I'm like, cool, I got 3 words: do your job. You do that, won't have any issues, right? And I truly believe that. If you show up and do your job every single day, me and you will have no problems. And at the same point, as your captain, you should expect me to do mine. And if we're not doing each other's jobs, as grown men and women, we should be able to have a conversation with each other about not doing each other's jobs, right? That's really, it's so simple. So the book is actually called Jump Seat Leadership: The Solution to All Problems in the Fire Service. And on every page, for 100 pages, I just simply wrote, do your job. Because I really do believe that is the answer to all the problems in the fire service. Show up, do your job. That's it. Now, does that encompass some things? Yeah, it does. But we're adults, and we're supposed to be figuring these things out together. So as a captain, I'm expecting you, I'll give you some simple things. I'm just expecting you to show up on time. Early would be nice, in the right uniform when calls come in, to get on the truck and to pitch in around the station when calls aren't there, and participate in training. Those are all parts of your job. Like, those are all parts of your job. So I don't understand. Like, sometimes when guys think I'm joking when I don't have this huge list of expectations. Like, you're an adult. You signed up for this job. You got hired. You went to the interviews. You get a paycheck. You get a salary. They put you under me, and that I'm your captain because they said, hey, that's your station, that's your captain, that's your supervisor, that's your boss. Now show up to work every day and just do what you're supposed to do. I honestly don't understand why that's so hard. Do we go through hard things where it's harder some days than others? Yeah, man, I have terrible days some days. I have terrible days. I have to find ways to get through them. There are some days I'm just honest with my crew, not having a great day, but I'm still here to show up. And the days that I'm not, I just don't come to work. That's what sick leave's for. like sometimes you need some time off. But yeah, the whole book is literally it's a novelty item, and it's a great coffee table book. But if you're looking for the solution to all the problems in the fire service and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to read his book, the whole book just says do your job in it. Um, I look, if you're listening to this, I think I have like 30 copies to give away, so just hit me up, contact me, and I'll give you a copy, throw it on your coffee table. And yeah, I mean, I love the book. Like it's a joke, obviously, but it works for me. And it's my mantra. It's really what I tell people. Like, just show up and do your job, man. I don't understand. Like, yes, this sucks, that sucks. You can't change the world, but you can change your mindset and a few people around you if you're lucky, but I don't know if you'll change the entire world, but sometimes you just got to focus on your fishbowl. But yeah, man.
There you go. That's good stuff, Josh. And
Yeah.
we've touched on a lot of stuff today, from your beginning of your career to leadership stuff. And I want to close out with one of the things that I'm passionate about. Obviously, it's everybody knows that my priorities are faith, family, fitness, and firefighting. We've talked about faith. We talked about family and fitness a little bit in firefighting. But one of the things I want to talk about too is, and it's something that you have touched on the latest book on morale. That everybody, morale is low in the fire service. How do I fix it? How do I do it? And are there any also, and talk a little bit about the aspects of taking care of ourselves, which it is part of the fitness aspect of it, whether it's mentally, spiritually, physically. How do we take care of ourselves so we can take care of others? And how with that, how do we change morale in the fire service? How do we make it better?
So I think I gotta look. I actually think so. I read that book last year, and then I actually unpublished it. Well, you can't get it anymore. I don't know. It's still published, but you can't. I took it off Amazon because I was like, you know what? I didn't know if I was. I couldn't figure out if I was contributing or taking away from the problem or encouraging, or I was struggling after I read the book whether I was going to leave the book out or not. So I think I took it down from Amazon because I really realized that I'd already written books that address every morale problem. And if your purpose is bigger than the fire department and your happiness and your joy is bigger than the fire department, you will go to work and you won't care about morale and the fire department as a whole. Like, morale overall might be low, but dude, I'm not trying to be funny or sound like some kind of motivational speaker that's, listen to a video before I got on here and I'm motivated. Like, I'm a genuinely, for the most part, happy person. I have an amazing wife. I have great kids. I have a really good job that I've been doing for 20 years. Do I like every aspect of all of it? No. I mean, some days it's just really hard and some days we do a lot of garbage, but it doesn't mean, like, I just don't let things affect me the way that I used to. So when it comes to morale, like, yeah, it might not be great, but it's on me to like fix it, and it's my joy and my happiness and my mentality and my perspective that are going to change other people's perspective and change that perception of morale. I mean, we can't let or look to outside sources to control your state of morale, your happiness, your perspective, how you still feel about the job. I still like the job. Like, I still love the job. Like, I love firefighting, right? I love actually getting to help people. The root of this job is getting to help people. I like to help people. That's why I signed up for the military. That's why I signed up for the fire department. I genuinely like to help people. So I still get to do that. Do I like everything that surrounds it? No, I'd be lying. Like, I don't like politics. There's a lot of politics in the fire department. I just try not to get involved in them, and I try and be realistic, and I don't fight battles that aren't mine. Like, man, I'll pick every battle and storm every hill. And I've just learned, over the past 20 years, like, there's a lot of battles I've fought that I was exhausted over that I never should have fought. So when it comes to morale, like, I would honestly say, like, sometimes you just got to shift your own perspective and stop counting on other people for your state of happiness and your joy. Like, I go to God for happiness. I go to God for joy. That's who I go to. That's where I get it from. If I have a morale issue, I go to him, and then everything flows out of that. And I would venture to say that most people that have a relationship with the one true God, they do that, but Other than that, man, you can always look. You can always find something to complain about. Always. You're never gonna not find anything to complain about, you know. But for some reason, I don't know why, we focus on the negative. The negative gets a lot of attention, right? I mean, it always does. I mean, a guy gains $50. He's like, oh, cool, I got $50. Throws it in his pocket. Man, he loses $50. He's going to tell 30 people about it in the next 45 minutes, how he lost that $50. He's going to make up a story. And because it's negative sales. Oh my gosh, you lost $50. Let me tell you about the time I lost $50. You know, start sharing some positive things in the fire department. What motivated you to come in the fire department? You know, does it really suck that bad? Look, if it really sucked that bad, people would just leave. And there are people that are like, hey, it sucks that bad for me, I am leaving. And there are people that leave, and that's their prerogative, and they're being an advocate for themselves because maybe they can't take it anymore. But if you still love the job and you're passionate about it, like, you're responsible to renew your own passion for the job, nobody else. There's nothing in my job description as a captain that says I have to renew your passion for the job and your morale. Now, I try and keep morale up in my station. I'm not going to say the officers don't have a responsibility, because that'd be a complete lie. I believe I directly impact the morale in my station. So at a station level, like, yes, I do believe officers are, you know, can have some heavy influence in their morale and what's going on. But even with that influence, like, I'm still not responsible for how you feel every single day when you come to work, and how you manage your feelings and the conversations that you have to have around them. So, man, I think morale is on the person. If you're blaming an organization for your morale problem, like, I think you probably got an issue. Those people are people too. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't have the answers. You know, I have a lot of different opinions than everybody else has. I've just learned over the course of my life, like, a lot of stuff is just, I have to take ownership of my own stuff before I can put stuff on other people. I gotta fix my own house and get it in order before I can start pointing fingers. I think the Bible talks about, like, take the plank out of your own eye before you start pointing at, you know, specks of sawdust in other people's eyes. And a lot of the times I'm like, well, I got a pretty big friggin' plank sticking out of my eye I need to deal with before I start, you know, well, look, Helton, what's your problem? Like, well, maybe I should handle my stuff first. You know, as far as morale goes, man, I think it's on the person. Like, are there outside entities that can, you know, impact how you're feeling? Yes. But happiness, joy, how you feel about morale, man, those are all choices. And I think it's easier when you put your trust, your faith in Jesus. But that's just my opinion.
And that's a mic drop. So I like that, Josh. I appreciate all the insight that you've shared. I appreciate you pouring into my life over the past few years. We have yet to meet in person, so hopefully that will happen here sometime soon. In the meantime, how can people reach out to you? How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm not super active on social media right now, but I do check my messages. So if you go to Jump Seat Leadership on Facebook, I mean, I haven't checked Instagram and I don't know how long. So if you're trying to reach me on Instagram, it may take me a second. But Facebook is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. I do have a website, the Chase Collective LLC.com. You can go there, find all my books, all my information. That just goes to my email if you want to contact me. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of if you want to get a hold of me for anything. Amazon is the best way to get all my books. If you just type in my name, I think it's like a million Joshua Chases out there, but if you type in my name, I'm a initial S, all my books come up. And but yeah, if you're having trouble finding anything, you need anything, you want some help, let me know. Helton's got his new book out, First Things First. Man, it's great, and I just love the title, because it really is about, like, you got to put the first things first to get your life in order. It's a book about priorities. It's a book about order. It's getting your life straight, you know. And if I had to find a book right now that's lining up with what I'm trying to do with people, like strengthen, encourage, and empower, like, Helton's book does that. So if you're listening and you're like, oh, what's my next book? Well, at least get this one and put it in your list or put it on your shelf. You know, one thing I love about it is it's got a lot of information, and it takes out a lot of the excuses of why your life is the way that it is. I mean, it just talks about a lot of stuff. And one thing we have to do is remove excuses for ourselves, and his book will help you do that. So go get it. His book is also available on Amazon. He's doing some good things. Man, I appreciate you having me on today. I mean, I can't say enough about, like, you know, I appreciate the kind words, but you went out here and did all this stuff. You were like, I'm thinking about writing a book. You wrote a book. I'm thinking about launching a podcast. You launched a podcast. I'm thinking about launching social media. You launched like. There's a lot of people that talk about what you did and what you wanted to do, and then for some reason they just don't ever accomplish it or do it. So it's cool to see like you're a testament to somebody who you didn't do that like movement circle life. You did that. I had a straight line. I had a goal. I'm making progress. And it's been cool to see you make progress over the years because you had a goal, you had vision, you had a mission, and now you've accomplished these goals. And that's real progress, right? But you could have just walked in circles and just kept talking about it, right? Just could have kept walking in circles and been like, look at me moving and just going in circles and never done it. But the fact that you're doing it, and man, you're going to do even greater things. That's the cool thing. Like this is just the beginning, and I love it. So I just feel blessed and honored to even be a part of it. So I appreciate you having me on today.
Well, thank you, Josh. Appreciate it, brother. Well, like you said, check him out online, Instagram, Facebook. He also has a podcast, the Firehouse Leadership Podcast. Get his books and reach out to him. Josh, once again, thank you, brother, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, man. Good show.